The inbound will come 5 seconds away. Here it goes. The Western Conference champions are the Dallas Mavericks. They're going to the NBA Finals.
The Dallas Mavericks looked like they had everything going for them. They had a young superstar, an undisputed top 5 player in the league who led them to the NBA Finals, beating 2 teams who very few believed they could actually beat. They also built their team around him very well. They acquired a veteran star to be his sidekick, and despite the polarizing perception of Kyrie Irving, he found his home in Dallas and became a great friend and mentor to Luka. They also made some great acquisitions to fix the holes on their roster, in particular, the trades to acquire PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. They became instrumental to the team's success. 2 young, dynamic role players who were similar in age to Luka, and were expected to develop together. Heck, even the decision to sign the aging Klay Thompson to provide some additional shooting was a solid move at a glance. But in one single trade, the entire franchise collapsed.
And everyone with the same message. Did you get hacked? Did you get hacked? Check your phone, you got hacked. Like, everyone had the same response. Did something happen? Who took your phone?
They went from the NBA Finals to just barely having 7 active players available to play. While most folks, including myself, had no idea Luka was even on the trade block, looking behind the scenes, however, paints a very different story. This was a meticulously crafted plan by Nico Harrison that took several years to come to fruition, with a step-by-step process that eventually made the departure of Luka Doncic inevitable. In this video, let's go back a few years and take a detailed look at everything that went on behind the scenes, which ultimately led to the inexplicable collapse of a franchise who should be contending for the championship for years to come. Yet, they've lost everything. And the cherry on top? The organization took a completely unnecessary dump on Luka on his way out. Let's look at all the events leading up to this. But before we start, folks, let me introduce you to Raycon and their everyday headphones. Their latest model is better than it's ever been before, sporting a 40-hour battery life and an incredibly comfortable ergonomic design that you'll love to wear all day, every day. That's why they're called everyday headphones. Their hybrid active noise cancellation feature is top-notch, capable of drowning out most sound, so you can focus on your music, or your podcast, or your phone call, or whatever activity you're doing at the moment. I like using it while doing chores around the house, or bringing it with me on road trips, but they're also comfortable enough that I can sleep in them and fall asleep to my music. However, my favorite feature has to be how quickly it charges. Raycon's everyday headphones can charge 2 hours of battery life in just 15 minutes, and they start at just half the price as other premium brands with similar functions. Experience premium sound wherever you go. Head to buyraycon.com/hoops25 to get 25% off Raycon's best-selling everyday headphones. Don't miss out. Head to buyraycon.com/hoops25. Nico Harrison became the GM and president of basketball operations for the Mavericks on this day. Since his arrival, there's been a massive list of players and personnel who were close to Luka, but no longer there. First, it started with a man by the name of Igor Kokoshkov, a former assistant coach and the same man who coached Luka to a EuroLeague championship back when he was a teenager. He wasn't just a coach, however, he was also Luka's closest friend within the organization, and his pre-game workout partner, and Luka sought his advice whenever he was struggling on the court. Originally, when his dismissal was announced, some folks believed it was Jason Kidd who had an issue with him. Kidd, at the time, wasn't known to be a good coach, the opposite, in fact. And the initial idea was he wanted to exert more control over the coaching decisions, but Kokoshkov was an obstacle in his way. Except that turned out to be completely false. Kidd always loved him. He was the one who wanted him in the first place and constantly praised him, calling him a, quote, offensive genius. Years later, now we know it was Nico Harrison all along. He was the one who disposed of the Serbian coach. A source claims that Harrison is power-hungry and will get rid of anybody who challenges his thought process. Considered as part of Luka's inner circle, Harrison did not like that, as he was the one who wanted more control. A man by the name of Scott Tomlin, the vice president of basketball communications and a member of the Mavericks organization for nearly 2 decades. He all of a sudden left, citing his reasons for being unhappy with certain decisions the team has made. Tomlin was another guy who Luka was super close with. He was actually one of the first folks who reached out to Luka when he first joined the Mavs back in 2018, and the two of them have maintained a strong relationship since then. A few months later, Nico Harrison made arguably the worst f***up since joining the organization. Well, that is until the Luka trade, of course. His decision to lowball Jalen Brunson when it was time for his new contract. Brunson and Luka were as close as you can get between two teammates, guys who came into the league together, who developed alongside one another. While most would say Brunson was leaving for New York regardless, as there were, stuff behind the scenes that the Knicks played into, with his father being on the team, his agent Sam Rose being the son of the Knicks GM, the connections to the Knicks were strong, and perhaps Brunson was leaving no matter how much money the Mavs threw at him. Still, this lowball offer meant the Mavs had zero intention of keeping him regardless, and so another close companion of Luka is gone. I mean, even the Dorian Finney-Smith trade to Brooklyn. He was Luka's closest teammate. Now, this is where things started to ramp up to an unforgivable pace. The Mavs found success in the playoffs, especially after trading for Kyrie, so everything going on behind the scenes was brushed to the side. Nobody really cared of Harrison firing random people as long as the team was winning. It didn't matter if some unknown trainers or executives were being let go, because honestly, who cares about them? Nobody even knew who these guys were. Heck, most folks weren't even aware of Harrison's true intentions, which slowly but surely rose to the surface. In a report by Tim McMahon, which kinda caught everyone off guard, this is what he had to say about Harrison's decision-making process. Quote, "If Doncic wasn't going to change his ways, the Mavericks figured they would prod him by making changes around him. In August of 2023, the team fired former Director of Player Health and Performance, Casey Smith, who has since been hired by Jalen Brunson's New York Knicks. The Mavs fired strength coach Jeremy Halsapol and manual therapist Casey Spangler. All three had been with the team since before Doncic was drafted and had strong relationships with him. It slowly became a startling trend, as everyone close to Doncic was being fired left and right. And all this just to get him to change his ways? Change him how exactly? Even if Luka did need to change his diet or his fitness level, it became obvious Harrison was trying to send this message in a different way, by letting go everyone close to him and making him feel isolated, so that eventually trading him away won't feel that bad. Is this the work of a sociopath? I mean, maybe. In an interview, Luka was asked about his opinion on all these changes, to which he responded with a simple yet revealing statement. "They get rid of everybody I like." With all that being said, in hindsight, the opinions of Luka around the summer of 2023 were quite mixed. That was the lowest point of his career. For one, everyone knew he would be the face of the franchise for years to come. On the other hand, his physical fitness became a real concern for the fanbase too. You don't even need to know how much he weighs. Just by looking at how he plays, he moves so much slower compared to his rookie or sophomore years. And back in 2023, he was 24 years old, yet he moved like somebody who should be 30 years old. Just a few years prior, he was spry, he was energetic, very mobile and quick. Looking back at old Luka highlights, you wouldn't even guess this was the same player.
Down to 8, moves on Polo, takes it in, hammers it home. Dallas has got the lead. Doncic throws down a sledgehammer.
The whole Luka is out of shape narrative had roots. And most fans agreed after missing the playoffs in 2023 and having a multitude of lower body injuries, Luka needed to be in better shape. Even with this critique, nobody wanted him to be traded. In fact, we didn't even think it was possible he'd get traded. Few players in this league are untouchable, and Luka should have been one of them.
Banner number 18 has been secured. The Celtics are NBA champions.
The Mavericks entered the 2024 finals as heavy underdogs, and losing in 5 games wasn't that surprising. While there were still skeptics who questioned Luka's fitness level and his much slower, lethargic playstyle, he was still just as effective as ever, putting up career highs in points, assists, and three-point percentage. He even led all players in the playoffs in total minutes played. If he was out of shape playing like that, then who cares? Apparently, Nico Harrison did.
Luka has been in that position, walking like that for the last 20 seconds.
Remember, he had that left heel contusion that put him out for a couple of games, and he's going off right now.
A slow start to the 2024-25 campaign saw Luka get sidelined for a handful of games due to injury. Prior to the trade to LA, Luka had not played in over a month, and during this time, Nico Harrison quietly worked behind the scenes to negotiate a deal that would change the NBA landscape forever. It wasn't just that this was a horrendous trade, it was the reasoning behind it, and all the derogatory things he threw at Luka on his way out. Harrison initially said this would be a win-now move by acquiring Davis. Then, when he got injured, he pivoted to excuses about Luka's conditioning and his lack of killer instinct possessed by former superstars like Kobe. Then, as the injuries to the Mavs piled up, one after the other, all of their key players went down, culminating in a season-ending torn ACL suffered by Kyrie Irving. Realizing that his plan has failed and the entire organization has crumbled to dust, Mavericks owner Patrick Dumont finally climbed out of the rock he was hiding under to make a public statement that this trade was a long-term decision all along, and they were trying to create a roster for the future.
You have Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and either Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively as your starting 5.
Fantastic.
Right? And so the objective was, how do we create a roster for the future that allows us to be the most competitive team?
Yeah, right. I mean, it basically contradicts everything that Harrison has said, as he said it was a win-now move. If you're making a decision for the future, isn't it better to keep your 25-year-old superstar, especially with most of his core still young and around his age? It's obvious the Mavs are just going through damage control, trying to downplay how much this single trade ruined their present and future. As expected, this trade sent shockwaves across the NBA. Heck, even LeBron James, with over 20 years of experience under his belt, still got surprised, as he thought the trade was a hoax at first. Le GM did not see this coming. Nobody did, except for Nico and Rob Pelinka, who made this deal in complete secrecy. Devin Booker thought this trade involved the Wolves' backup center, Luka Garza, not Luka Doncic. Even Mark Cuban, now a minority owner, made it very clear that he had nothing to do with this deal, and he would much rather divorce his wife than trade away Luka. This trade even has its own Wikipedia page, which is the first I've seen of any NBA trade. Perhaps, for those who've been following Nico Harrison's decisions over the years, by firing or trading away everyone close to Luka, what he ultimately seeks is full control over the organization, a level of power equivalent to the likes of Pat Riley or Greg Popovich. By isolating Luka's entire circle of friends, there was only one person left to give away: Luka himself. The total collapse and disintegration of this championship contender is not just the story of a horrendous trade made by Nico Harrison, but the story of a man forcing his grip, surrounding himself with only people who agree with him, while setting ablaze every path, every suggestion that does not meet what he wants. Maybe in the future, more news will come out surrounding this period of Mavericks lore. Until then, we can only guess where this franchise will be. Anyway, that's all folks. Let me know your thoughts on all the details coming out of this trade. Is there anything that surprises you or caught you off guard? Did you know that Nico was slowly crafting this behind the scenes all along? And Luka's departure was a several years long process. Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.